Can you poll the board?
Mr. Walter Marston,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Altizer,
Yes.
Mr. Darren Goury,
Yes.
Mr. Trace Belisai.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on into recognitions. Looks like we have JVG recognition on the agenda. Ms. Stomley?
Good evening. I need to take a deep breath. I just finished a wonderful department chair meeting with my school leaders, and so I'm just like very, very thankful to be here. What I want to talk to you about tonight is that we have been recognized through Craig County High School. Craig County High School is recognized for exceeding the 6 of 6 performance outcome standards for the class of 2022. National performance outcome standards include graduation rate, employment rate, positive outcome rate, full-time jobs rate, connectivity rate, and full-time placement rate. I need to explain to you just for a moment what Jobs for Virginia Graduates is about. For several years, we taught this through a class and used this opportunity to help young people who did not attend BTEC to understand career readiness, workforce readiness, ability to deal with people, speak in public, stand up in front of a crowd. We no longer teach it as a full-time class. We teach it on an individual level. There is quite a bit of recording that needs to be done and quite a bit of contacts that have to be made throughout the school years. After school, students are still tracked for 1 year of where they've gone, what they've done. Are they in the military? Are they working? Are they going to college? Are they not in the workforce? This certificate of recognition has very little to do with me. I am just the voice. This certificate of recognition is because of two people that I have on my staff. Mr. Jake Dowdy, if you would please come up, and Miss Shaylee Looney. Mr. Jake Dowdy is our high school coordinator. He is our JVG coordinator, and Miss Shaylee Looney is also one of our coordinators through the middle school. Mr. Dowdy tracks, places, reports, works with kids. There are so many different things, aspects of this recognition that he takes care of. Miss Looney is also teaches the class in 6th and 7th grade for career readiness, beginning to thinking about what life skills that students need, and so much more. So this is actually an award that they have earned. So. The award itself, Jobs for America's Graduate, is the national award, and we've also received that through the Jobs for Virginia Graduates, is a national 6 of 6 recognition. Craig County High School is recognized for outstanding performance and accomplishment in exceeding 6 of 6 of the national performance goals for the class of 2022. Now, I'm going to give this to you and have her make a picture, and then we'll put this up in the school. You do that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, moving on to hearing of citizens delegations. Do we have any
No, sir, we don't.
requests? All right, we'll move right on to the superintendent's report.
Again, I'd just like to echo congratulations to these guys. It's quite an accomplishment. I used to do a lot with JVG, and for some folks that don't know, not only is it a great award and they're doing great things for our students, but it also means about $30,000 for each school. So that's a huge benefit to our students and our school as a whole. First of all, for my report, I'd kind of like to give an update on our facilities and talking with Shane and kind of letting you guys know where we're at on some of that. Some of the larger contract items that we've had are getting very close to completion, and we got a date from Thompson and Litton today that about 3 different phases of the big contract. One is like 97% done, one's 100% done, one's 98% done. So we are very close to wrapping some of these major contract items up. One of those being the cafeteria unit that sits on top of the cafeteria area where the students eat. The unit was supposed to be set this past week, but they didn't have all the materials they needed to flash it in. So basically, they couldn't set it up there without drying it in. We didn't want to do that. So they'll have the materials. They'll be working on it in the afternoons and this weekend to get that unit set on top of the roof, and then they'll try to hook that up the following week. So hopefully that big unit will be done within the next 2 weeks. The rental unit that we had kind of as the supplemental cooling and heating because of that will then be dismantled and set off while we have the crane here to put one unit up on the roof. We're going to use the same crane to take one off. So that will be done also within the next 2 weeks while they're doing this. It'll be done in conjunction, and as soon as we get that rental unit unhooked, Shane will call that company, and so we can stop payment on that rental unit. The gym floor, I hope you guys have got to see the gym floor. It's beautiful. Everybody is very proud of that. We've played some volleyball games on it. I came through. The girls are practicing right now. They're very much enjoying that gym floor. It is basically done. The only issue is the ramps that go in from the entrance ways. So those are in place and it's usable. But Thompson and Lytton weren't totally, ready to sign off on that. They want to make sure it's ADA compliant, and we want to make sure that's done as well. So as soon as they get the ramps the way that they need to be, then that project will be closed out as well. We are just kind of wanted to float the idea and I think this has been done in the past, certainly way before my arrival, but we're kind of kicking down the road the possibility of moving or constructing another bus garage here on site. It's my understanding we do not own the bus garage that we occupy now, that's still under county ownership, and I paid a visit to it yesterday and did a walkthrough. It's got a lot of limitations, and I'm hoping that depending on how our budget looks and how our 6-year plan comes out, that we might be able to bring the bus garage here on site. For several reasons, security being one. The day before yesterday, somebody helped themselves to all the fuses in one of the boxes. They actually opened the fuse panel and pulled every fuse out of it. Luckily, that's all that they did, but we weren't able to catch who did that by camera, and so it's just kind of a bad spot there for security purposes. Also, it would just make more sense just for convenience. Even though it's 2 miles away, it's still 2 miles away. We hope in the long term that it would be a savings, not just for the school system, but for the county as a whole. Fuel has been an issue here for a long time, and I understand the pros and cons of that. We want to look into it to where we could possibly house a bigger fuel tank for gas and diesel that might benefit other agencies such as EMS, police department, that kind of thing. So we just want to start looking at that. We're ready to jump in with both feet yet, but we just want to start that process of looking into it, kind of doing a feasibility study of does it make sense to build a new bus structure and put it here on this campus. One of the new initiatives that I just wanted to bring forth to you guys, and some of you may have heard of it already, but the governor has created an initiative they're calling the All In Initiative. Some of you may have heard it referred to as the Tutoring Playbook, and this is what it looks like if you see a copy of it from the state. High intensity academic tutoring. Basically what they've said is once they've done the research from post-pandemic, that we understand that there's a major learning loss that occurred during COVID pandemic and still continues, and so they're trying to turn the tide to not only prevent further learning loss, but to catch these students up, primarily grades 3 through 8. So the governor has put forth a lot of money. I think statewide it's 400, don't quote me, but 418 million maybe. Our portion of that here in Craig County is going to be somewhere north of $191,000. That money is designed to pay teachers for extra blocks, maybe during school or after school tutoring as well. We can also hire retired teachers, other educational professionals that can come in and help tutor these students that are lagging behind. So we're in the process of doing that. The governor kind of put out a challenge to start this by October 16th. I think very few schools are going to be ready to do it that soon, but we are hoping to start it November 1st here. We will draft a letter. Jessica is actually working on that today, and we will send a letter to notify parents about this initiative and try to use it as a survey to let them know what it's about and what we can do to help the child the most, whether that be in-school tutoring, after-school tutoring, and if they need transportation to get the child to and from, because that we know that's going to be a challenge for some. The money will not only help pay the tutors' cost, but also bus drivers and transportation as well. So a good thing coming down the pike that hopefully will help overcome some of the learning loss from the pandemic. I think I reported last month that Ms. Duncan had been tirelessly working on the annual financial report. She was able to get that submitted at the end of September, so that's a big, huge thing off of her plate. I know she's glad to do that. She also was able to submit and successfully the audit for our cash receipts and disbursements. That's annually done by Robinson, Farmer, and Cox and Associates, the CPAs that do our normal audits and the county's audits, and I think that process is concluded as well, and you do have a copy of that, I believe, in front of you. So now that we've got some of these major financial reports done, now we're going to start looking at our budget very closely, trying to incorporate that in with the 6-year plan. So some of these things that I've mentioned, like the tutoring plan, possibly relocating the bus garage and upgrading that facility, that will all play into the 6-year plan. And now that we've got some time to start looking at the budget, that's kind of our priority. We know that the 6-year plan is due to you guys in November, so we want to have that ready for your approval at the November meeting next month. One other consideration that we'll be looking at, and we'll probably do this after the completion of the 6-year plan, is the state has proposed another 2% raise for all SOQ employees. And so you guys remember the raise last year and the one prior to that. State has proposed another 2%. Now, the good news, I guess, is that because of the generosity you had in the prior 2 years, we've kind of met the requirements already. In other words, we don't have to do the 2% because we've already met our obligation by that the state required. They require an average of 5% each of the last 2 years, and you guys certainly surpassed that. So, but we'll look at it very close again now that we're able to look at the budget and start scrutinizing everything that's in there. We'll kind of see and make a recommendation as to whether we want to do the 2%. This one will start in January, so it's a little bit different than some of the other raises. We'll also have to make the determination if we decide to do it, whether we want to do that for all employees, like it's been done in the past, or if we want to do it only to instructional personnel or to only those SOQ positions. So that'll be something we need to look at here in the near future. Probably be looking at that in November, December. Okay. And I think that's all I have to report.
All right, moving on to new business, we have resolution R 2024-04. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? If nobody has any discussion, we'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Yeah, I make a motion to pass the resolution R 2024-04 as written.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Jessica, could you poll the board?
Mr. Walter Marston,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Altizer,
Yes.
Mr. Darren Gary,
Yes.
Mr. Trace Bellisat. Trace?
Yes, sorry.
All right, moving on to policy EFB, Food Services Edition. Has anybody got any questions, or has everybody had a chance to look at that? From what I understand, from what I've read on it, it's just, the policy we'd passed passed it last year and stuff. It gives free food and for free lunch and breakfast to
Right.
all students.
Yeah.
We just wanted to put it in the policy, so.
Yeah, so we're wanting to have a motion to include it in our policy.
I make a motion that we include that in our policy, food service edition.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Belcher, can you poll the board?
Mr. Walter Marston,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Altizer,
Yes.
Mr. Darren Gary,
Yes.
Mr. Trace Bellisat.
Yes.
All right, moving into unfinished business. Final reading of the VDOE model policies. We need a motion to approve the final reading of the VDO model policies. There'll be no discussion. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Belcher, can you poll the board?
Mr. Walter Marston,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Altizer, Mr. Darren Gary,
Yes.
Mr. Trace Bellisat.
Yes.
All right, moving on to approval of the consent agenda. Make a motion that we go into closed session for the personnel list.
Do you want to just wait and do the consent after y'all come out?
Yeah, after that. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as here.
I'll second.
We need to pull off the personnel list.
Okay.
Okay,
I think you have to put that in the motion.
okay.
You'll need to vote on Mr. Marsden's motion first, because it was motion was made and
Okay.
second. So,
We got a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Belcher, can you poll the board?
Mr. Walter Marston,
Yes.
Mr. Trace Bellisat,
Yes.
Mr. Darren Gary,
No.
Mr. Kevin Altizer.
No.
Okay.
now, if you need to make a motion to pull some of the consent agendas, you can make that motion.
Yeah. Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, all besides personnel 8.5 list.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the consent agenda, subtracting the personnel list 8.5.
Mr. Walter Marston,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Altizer,
Yes.
Mr. Darren Gary,
Yes.
Mr. Trace Bellisat.
Yes.
I can't get my thing on.
All right.
I can't get my thing to work.
We'll move to section 9 of closed session.
I can't get back.
I make a motion according to Virginia Code 2.2-3711, point A, motion will be made to go into closed session for the discussion of personnel matters.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Belcher, can you poll the board?
Mr. Walter Marston?
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Altizer?
Yes.
Mr. Darren Geary?
Yes.
Mr. Trace Belzak?
Yes.
All right. All right, somebody want to make a motion to bring us out of closed session?
Make a motion to certify
Oh, hold
according.
on just a second, we gotta get Trace back on the phone.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry about that.
Just about forgot about Trace. He's being so quiet.
Hey, Trace.
All right, Trace, we're gonna come out, we're getting ready to make a motion to come out of closed session.
Make a motion to certify according to Code of Virginia, Section 2.2-3712, that to the best of each member's knowledge that only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under this chapter, and only such public business matters that were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered by the school board.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Belcher, can you poll the board?
Mr. Walter Marston,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Altizer,
Yes.
Mr. Darren Gilreath,
Yes.
Mr. Trace Belsa.
Yes.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the section of the consent agenda, the personnel list 8.5?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel list.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Belcher, can you poll the board?
Mr. Walter Marston,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Altizer,
Yes.
Mr. Darren Gilreath,
Yes.
Mr. Trace Belsa.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, moving on to section 12, board comments and information. We have a couple of comment submissions. First one is talking about, can we set up, I'll just go ahead and read it real quick, that way it'll be done. Can we set up a CPR training at the end of each school year for teachers that need to renew? In my previous school, there were instructional videos we had to watch and turn in the written test. CPR trainers would come in for a short session to make sure we could demonstrate the skills on the dummies. This would be a huge plus for our teachers to not have to drive to Roanoke and take CPR classes on the weekends. That's the first one. Anybody have any discussion on that?
Yeah, that's
Trace would.
that's certainly something, we can look into, and that, a lot of folks at the rescue squad can probably help support as well. In the long term, I know we talked in the past about trying to get some of our own teachers as CPR instructors. We talked a few times. I'd like to see CPR as a graduation requirement, and we can't really do that unless we have our own internal, our own instructors in-house. So I think we should look or work long-term towards trying to get some CPR instructors in-house, and it's not difficult to become a CPR instructor. It really isn't. Most teachers, the accreditation body that does CPR allows, if you're already a teacher, you don't have to go through their class if you're already a certified teacher. So it would be pretty easy for us to get some people to become CPR instructors. But yeah, either way, whether it's in the short term, the rescue squad can help support making sure we do some more CPR trainings. Long term, I'd like to see us get our own instructors.
Ms. Stanley, do you have something you'd like to add?
I do have a teacher who is now trained to be a CPR instructor, and that's Mr. Crowder.
Okay, Mr. Crowder is trained to be a CPR
And
instructor.
that is one of the things we are going to institute with our students, because as a senior, that is now a graduation requirement.
Okay. All right, so that comment's been took care of and answered. Second comment is we need to change how we are handling gate duty. It should be paid. It should be a paid position like ASD. Some of us have kids that are in activities. Some of us have to work a second job because of the rising cost of living, and some of us already give extra every day. It is not fair to ask people to miss a shift or their kids' activities because we don't want to pay someone $20 to take up tickets.
Yeah, I'll try to
Mr. Huff?
provide some clarification on that. This was brought up last month as well. When most teachers, all teachers that sign our contracts here in Craig County have that condition, it's a 200-day contract. And so additional duties like gate duty is part of meeting that 200-day fulfillment. If you look at the school year, there's 180 days that are instructional days. That's days with kids in the building. So there's 20 additional days that are a part of their contract. Now, some of that is done with designated work days. This year we had about 7 work days before school started. We also have 2 work days at the end of school. And so if you add up those work days that are built into the calendar, it comes up to about 14 mandatory work days, okay? So they have to work 20. Already they're doing 14 out of the work days. That leaves about 6 that are just kind of what I like to term flex days. You know, we can count that time for a lot of different things. And that could be things like working the prom, homecoming dance, taking tickets, for example. So there's a lot of things that you have to do as an exempt employee that you can't do just in a 40-hour work week. In fact, our teachers don't work a 40-hour work week. It's actually 7.75 hours a day, so it's a little bit less. So one of the things that we're looking at is giving them some help in tracking their time, being able to account for things that would fulfill that 20 extra days on their contract. This would also help our building principals to approve different things. So, for example, if a teacher wanted to go to a conference for professional development, they could perhaps count that time. Or any of those other after-school activities. Now, currently, I think most of our teachers that are doing after-school detention, they're getting paid a stipend to do that. So this would be fulfilling that extra 20 days that is in their contract. And I'll kind of read. This is a sample of one of our teachers' contracts. It says, the employee shall work all student days, developmental in-service days, and in-school work days during the term of the employee's contract, as determined by the Craig County School Board and provided in the Craig County Public Schools annual calendar. While it is anticipated that the employee shall be at the school for a minimum of 7 3/4 hours per day on days set forth in the annual calendar requiring teachers to report for duty, subject to calendar changes approved by the school board. So basically it's saying the normal school day is a 7 3/4 hour day. But it also goes on to say the employees shall be required to fulfill the duties given in excess of 7 3/4 hour days when required to do so by the principal, the superintendent, or the school board. So it's in the contract that we can't ask them to work beyond that 7 3/4 hour days. And then, you know, so that's kind of cut and dry. It's already in there. So we have an obligation to make sure that we're fulfilling that 200-day contract. And taking up tickets and doing some of those extra things is just a way to help fulfill that time.
How often does a teacher have to do gate duty?
Good question. Talking to Ms. Steimling today, they are required to do 2 games per season. So you got fall, winter, spring, so that'd be a total of 6 gate duties per year. Most gate duties are probably done in 2 hours or less, and so that's 12 hours that we're asking them to commit. Those 12 hours they can apply toward these extra 20 work days.
Okay, and with that being said, I know the answer, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. I know that we will work with any of the teachers that has kids that has ball games or anything. I'm sure Ms. Steinley or the principals will make sure that they're able to attend their kids' games. But it's I think it's part of the duties of all teachers to perform the gate duty. Any other discussion on the comments? All right. If there'll be no further discussion, if anybody has anything else, we'll adjourn.